You know that voice in your head that won't shut up at 2 a.m.? The one replaying every conversation, analyzing every decision, catastrophizing every possibility? What if I told you that voice isn't protecting you, it's imprisoning you? Here's the truth. Overthinking is a habit, not a personality trait. Your brain creates thought loops the same way it creates any other pattern, through repetition. But just like you learn to overthink, you can learn to think clearly. It's like having a browser with 47 tabs open, each one buffering, draining your battery. Next time you catch yourself spiraling, notice what happens. Your mind jumps from past mistakes to future disasters, never landing in the present moment. That's not thinking, that's mental spinning. When you understand how overthinking actually works, you realize you have more control than you thought. You can close those tabs. Everyone knows someone who makes decisions quickly and sleeps soundly. They're not reckless. They just know something you're about to learn. Chapter 1. The Analysis Paralysis Trap. Why more thinking doesn't equal better decisions. You've been sold a lie that more analysis leads to better choices. But there's a point where thinking becomes overthinking, and that's where decisions go to die. Here's the analysis paralysis trap. The belief that if you just think a little longer, the perfect answer will appear. But your brain isn't a computer processing data. It's a pattern-making machine that will keep generating scenarios indefinitely. Those scenarios aren't insights. They're mental clutter. You're trying to decide whether to take a new job. You make a pro-con list. Then you make another one. You research company reviews for hours. You imagine every possible outcome. 3 weeks later, you're still stuck. Meanwhile, your gut knew the answer in the first 10 minutes. When you stop confusing motion with progress, you realize that endless analysis is actually avoiding the discomfort of commitment. The best decision makers set time limits. They gather essential information, trust their judgment, and move forward. Consider your last big decision. How much of your thinking actually helped versus how much was just anxiety dressed up as analysis? Chapter 2. The Illusion of Control. Why your brain won't stop planning. Here's something that will shift your perspective. Overthinking isn't about finding answers. It's about trying to control the uncontrollable. Your brain believes that if it thinks through every scenario, it can prevent bad outcomes. That's the illusion of control. But life doesn't work that way. You can't think your way into certainty. You're worried about an upcoming presentation, so you rehearse it mentally 50 times. You imagine every question they might ask. You plan responses to criticisms that may never come. You're not preparing. You're attempting to control the future through mental repetition. But here's what actually happens. All that mental rehearsal increases your anxiety instead of decreasing it. Each imagined scenario feels like a real threat to your nervous system. When you recognize overthinking as a failed control strategy, you can redirect that energy into actual preparation. Prepare once thoroughly, then trust yourself to handle whatever comes. Vulnerability and uncertainty are part of being human. Overthinking is just resistance to that truth. Reflect on what you're really trying to control when your mind won't stop spinning. Chapter 3. The Present Moment Anchor. Your escape hatch from mental loops. Between every thought and the next thought, there's a space. In that space, you're not overthinking. You're just being. Most overthinkers have forgotten this space even exists. But it's always there, waiting. Your thoughts are like clouds passing through the sky. You are the sky, not the clouds. When you learn to anchor yourself in the present moment, thought loops lose their power. You can't overthink and be fully present at the same time. You're lying in bed, replaying an awkward conversation from earlier. Your mind is generating commentary, judgment, alternative scripts. Then you shift your attention to your breath. The sensation of air entering your nostrils. The rise and fall of your chest. Suddenly, the thought loop pauses. This present moment anchor is your emergency exit from overthinking. It's always available. One breath is all it takes to interrupt the pattern. The most peaceful people you know aren't the ones with perfect lives. They're the ones who've learned to return to the present moment. Think about the last time you were completely absorbed in an activity. No overthinking existed there. That's available to you right now. Chapter 4. The Thought Labeling Technique. creating distance from your mental chatter. What if you could observe your thoughts without believing every single one? Inside you is a witness, a part that can notice thoughts without being consumed by them. You can recognize, there's an anxious thought without becoming anxious. You can notice, my mind is catastrophizing again, without falling into the catastrophe. This witness perspective is always calm, always clear. It's the part of you that can think, I'm having the thought that I'll fail, instead of I'm going to fail. You're preparing for a difficult conversation, and your mind starts generating worst-case scenarios. Instead of getting swept into the drama, you label it. That's catastrophizing. There's the mind trying to predict the future. Now you're watching your thoughts instead of being hijacked by them. From this space, you can let unhelpful thoughts pass by like cars on a highway. Thought labeling gives you psychological immunity. You can notice any thought without being controlled by it. Think about a time you recognized your mind was spiraling and you didn't engage. You were using this technique. Now you can do it deliberately. Chapter 5. The Decision Deadline Method. How constraints create clarity. What if the cure for overthinking isn't more time, but less? This perspective shift will change how you approach every decision. Deadlines aren't pressure. They're liberation from endless deliberation. Every open-ended decision becomes a breeding ground for overthinking. But when you set a clear deadline, your brain shifts from spinning to solving. That promotion opportunity has been on your mind for weeks. You keep going back and forth. Should you apply? What if you fail? What if it's too much responsibility? Set a deadline. I will decide by Friday at noon. Suddenly, your brain stops spinning and starts actually evaluating. With a deadline, you gather relevant information efficiently. You consult your values. You make a choice. The deadline forces you out of analysis paralysis and into action. When you give yourself constraints, you stop treating every decision like it's permanent and irreversible. Most decisions are adjustable. You're not carving them in stone. Examine your current mental loop. What deadline would force you out of overthinking and into decision? Learn something new? Hit that like button, share it with others, tap subscribe, and stick around for more. Got thoughts? I'd love to hear them in the comments. Chapter 6. The Thought Dumping Practice. Emptying your mental cache. Your brain isn't designed to hold everything. It's designed to process and release. Here's how to empty your mental cache before it crashes your system. Thought dumping is exactly what it sounds like. You take everything swirling in your head and put it somewhere external. Paper, voice memo, digital document. Doesn't matter. What matters is getting out of your head. I'm worried about the budget. Did I offend Sarah? Need to call mom. That project deadline is tight. What if I'm making the wrong choice? Write it all down. No editing, no organizing. Just dump. You're lying awake with your mind racing through tomorrow's tasks, unresolved conversations, and random worries. Instead of trying to think through each one, grab your phone and do a thought dump. 5 minutes of stream of consciousness writing. Suddenly, your mind is quiet. The thoughts are contained. You can sleep. Thought dumping works because your brain can stop recycling thoughts once they're captured externally. It's like closing all those browser tabs. You can't think clearly with mental clutter. Regular thought dumps create space for actual insight instead of repetitive loops. Everyone carries around mental weight they don't need. Thought dumping is how you set it down. Identify what's currently taking up the most mental space. What would happen if you dumped it on a paper right now? Chapter 7. The Good Enough Philosophy. Perfectionism's Antidote. There's a difference between excellence and perfection. One is achievable and satisfying. The other is impossible and exhausting. Here's how to know which one you're chasing. Perfectionism is overthinking's favorite disguise. It pretends to be about high standards, but it's actually about fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of being seen as less than. The Good Enough philosophy says some things deserve your best effort, and most things just need to be adequate. You're writing an email to a colleague. You draft it, then redraft it. You change the wording. You worry about the tone. 20 minutes later, you're still perfecting a message that deserves 2 minutes. Good enough means the email is clear, professional, and complete. Send it. The time you save from not perfecting every small thing can go toward things that actually matter. Good enough doesn't mean sloppy. It means proportional effort. Not everything deserves the same level of attention. When you embrace good enough, you free yourself from the exhausting tyranny of perfection. Progress beats perfection every time. Everyone knows someone who gets things done without agonizing over every detail. They've embraced good enough. Recall something you overperfected recently. What would good enough have looked like? That's your new standard for most things. Chapter 8. The Rumination Interruption. Breaking the replay loop. Your mind has a replay button, and it's stuck. You keep rewatching past conversations, past mistakes, past embarrassments. Here's how to unstick it. Rumination is mental replaying without any new insight. You're not learning or processing. You're just reinforcing neural pathways of regret and worry. When you catch yourself ruminating, you need a pattern interrupt, something that breaks the loop. You're replaying that meeting where you stumbled over your words. For the 10th time today, you're rewriting what you should have said. Stop. Interrupt the pattern. Stand up. Move your body. Change your environment. Or use the redirect question. Is this thought helping me right now? If not, what would? The redirect breaks the loop and points your attention somewhere useful. Rumination feels like problem solving, but it's actually problem reinforcing. Each replay makes the memory more emotionally charged, not less. Pattern interrupts retrain your brain. Loops lose their power when you consistently refuse to complete them. Everyone has moments they wish they could redo. Mentally redoing them doesn't change anything. Notice your most frequent rumination loop. What pattern interrupt could you use next time it starts? Chapter 9. The Energy Audit. Knowing what deserves your mental resources. You have limited mental energy each day. Overthinking is spending it on things that don't deserve it. Here's how to become a better steward of your attention. Not all problems are created equal. Some deserve deep thought. Most don't. An energy audit means evaluating whether something is worth your mental resources before you spend them. Will this matter in 5 years? Does this require a decision right now? Am I the right person to solve this? You're worrying about what your neighbor thinks of your lawn. Energy audit. Does this matter in 5 years? No. Does this require a decision right now? No. Is this worth your mental energy? Definitely not. Redirect your attention to something that actually deserves it. When you audit your mental spending, you realize you've been investing premium attention in penny stock problems. The returns don't justify the investment. Energy audits create mental wealth. You stop being broke from overspending on trivial concerns. Everyone has the same 24 hours. The difference is what they choose to think about. Consider what's currently consuming your mental energy. Does it actually deserve that much attention? That's your audit revealing the truth. Chapter 10. The Forward Action Bias. Thinking less by doing more. You're not going to think your way out of overthinking. You're going to act your way out. Here's why action is the ultimate antidote to analysis paralysis. Overthinking thrives in the absence of action. When you're doing nothing, your mind fills the void with scenarios, worries, and endless deliberation. But when you take action, even imperfect action, overthinking has nowhere to live. You're worried about starting a new project. You keep planning, researching, preparing, but you never start. The solution isn't more planning. It's starting badly. Take one small action. Open the document. Make the first call. Write the messy first draft. Suddenly, you're gathering real data instead of imaginary scenarios. Action creates clarity that thinking never will. Forward action bias means when in doubt, take the smallest possible step forward. Movement generates momentum. Momentum displaces overthinking. The most successful people aren't the best thinkers. They're the best doers. They bias toward action. Everyone overthinks sometimes. The difference is whether you stay stuck in your head or move your body forward. Think about what you've been overthinking lately. What's one small action you could take today? Knowledge without practice is just entertainment. Here's how to turn these insights into your new mental operating system. This is where freedom from overthinking becomes your new normal. Integration happens through consistent practice, not perfection. Start with one technique and use it for a week. When you notice overthinking, use your present moment anchor. When you catch rumination, Interrupt the pattern. Each time you choose a new response, you're rewiring your neural pathways. For the next week, pick just one technique, maybe thought labeling. Every time you notice overthinking, say, "There's my mind spinning again." That's it. By week 2, this awareness will start becoming automatic. Small, consistent changes create massive transformations over time. The person who thinks clearly and sleeps soundly isn't born different. They've just practiced these skills until they became automatic. You can too. Everyone admires people with mental clarity. Now you have the roadmap to become one of them. Think about who you'll be when your mind becomes your ally instead of your enemy. That person is waiting for you to stop thinking and start being.